Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 83. I said last week that I was going to go into this week feeling energised and get loads done, but that just hasn't occurred. I had my first vaccination jab this week and it did knock me for six a little bit. I was okay, but very, very tired, not actually unwell, just totally lacking energy, and that meant that, yeah, I basically rested because I've got to be sensible. I have got stuff done. I've progressed the model railway, which puts a huge smile on my face, and I have also started a couple of other little projects and made some progress on a few things. So there is stuff to show you, but this is what hobbying is. It's not about being a machine and hammering it out, and I know I do a lot and I normally get a lot done, but sometimes life gets in the way or life takes over or things change, and therefore you just get a little bit less done, and you shouldn't judge yourself for that. So if you're finding that you're not getting the time to hobby, don't worry about it. It happens to us all, even someone who everyone says is as crazy as I am with how much I achieve. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you do drop one down there. I love to speak to you all. I do reply to every single one, and I always do appreciate the support that you give me there. And yeah, enjoy the video, and I will see you again at the end. So, as I'm starting this project, I've got dish soap and just a normal scrubbing brush. And what I'm doing is I'm giving these all a very, very good wash, because I just had a little bit of a play with them, and unfortunately they do have a lot of mold release agent on them, and the paint is washing, it's just like falling off. So in this pot I've got all of the wall sections, and I'm going to give them all a very good wash, let them dry naturally, and then I'll be able to prime them up in the grey, in the Vallejo grey, which I like so much, and then we'll have a go at painting them. What I'm going to do as well is a bit of research on dungeon walls, have a look and see. I want these to be old, I want these to be very aged, covered in moss, brown and green and yellow colours. I really want to put something into this because this game is superb, and making an effort is something that I want to do on this project. So yeah, going to get all these washed up and rinsed. As you can see, it doesn't take very long, but it makes a big difference. And when I've finished priming, I'll bring you along and show you how I'm going to do the painting. So here we have it, the box which contains the beginnings of the project I did for the Encounter 10x10 in December. Long-term viewers will recognise it. Here's a running track, there's the bleachers. We have a explosion. Can't really see it in the daylight, but it does flicker. And here is where the explosion will go, with a shell hole. Here we have a what will be I think this is going to be the so people are marching, so people on a parade, and then this very basic bit is going to be the burial ground. So what we have is some razor wire which came in from World War Scenics, whatever. We have some Pricer miniatures and Knock miniatures, which are basically, here's some kids. So this is going to be for the for the running track, and so is this. And so is this, so these are the people watching, but we also have the funeral here. And in this box I have some things which I probably need. So I've got some World War II German minefield warning signs, which is what it's going to be. That is for another project. And then we have men running across a battlefield, men saluting, so this will be used for the parade. We have people in a boat, that's for a different project. I did order some shell holes, but I did my own, so I won't be using them these, but that'll be good for a different project. I've got a bunch of people on parade. What I do have in here are holly wreaths, which is going to be good for the for the funeral scene. And here, this is the one thing that I really wanted. I have the pallbearers for a military funeral. So yeah, we've got some quite cool bits of kit here to make use of, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at pulling this all together and getting this finished, like I say, for the challenge. And I have learned a lot since December. I mean, it's 6 months since I was building this. I'm not going to throw anything away, because what I want to do is take this and improve it. So these bleachers are rubbish. They were rubbish at the time. I was under pressure at the time, and I reckon I can make them a lot better. I can toughen up the base. You can see it's been chipped, even though it's just been sitting in a box. That's not very good. So I'll be toughening up the sort of side. So there are various things I can do which are going to be improvements, but mostly it's just going to be improved by being finished. I mean, how much more of an improvement can you get? So I will sort myself out, work out my plan of attack, and bring it along for the next step when I get to it. So I think the first thing that I'm going to look at on this is finishing off the running track. And I'm going to focus on the bleachers and getting a better texture and a slightly better finish on the running track. And it is a very basic build. This is very simple. It's frustrating to not finish it the first time round. So what I've got to do first is snip off the ends of these. I'm not going to remove them, like I've said, because I want to improve this. I want to learn. But this is going to be quite noisy, so I'll get these snips done, not on camera, and then bring you back to show you the next step. So with that now clipped, what I'm going to do is come along with the same colour paint as I used before, but I'm going to apply it with a stippling effect with a hard bristle brush. This is a brush which I've treated badly, and I've allowed it to get to not be clean properly. Basically, that's what's happened. But don't throw those sorts of things away, because often you'll find that having a brush like that can be useful, particularly in a case like this where you want to stipple on something on a very hard surface. And what you can see is we're just getting a lot nicer texture than I had previously. It was way too smooth before, and it's going to look like the kind of like gravelly red that you get on playing tracks and at schools. So I'll get that done, and then I'll let that dry, I think, and I'll pick the next step up once it's dried. It won't take very long. This stuff dries very quickly, this paint, but I don't want to have any kind of damage going across the build. So yeah, so I'll get that texture in there, and I'll bring you back when I get to the next step. The stippling worked really, really well. I'm very, very pleased now with the texture on that. So what I'm going to do is I've got my Winsor & Newton raw umber, which is what I use for this sort of thing, and I'm just going to come along and paint that on as a base colour. Now I'm going to come along after this and dry brush it, because I don't want it to be this dark really, not when it's finished, but I do want to have a nice solid base underneath it. So I'm going to do this as the first stage. It's a bit noisy, so I'll do it off camera, and then when that's done, we'll do a dry brush, and then we're going to start working on the grass. So that's dried nicely, and what I've got now is a paint called Cafe Latte. And I'm not so much dry brushing as just trying to do like a filter type application on it, using this stiff bristle brush just to lighten it up a little bit. Don't want to go too far, don't want to lose the character I've put in with the dark, but I do want to lighten it so that it's a little bit standing out from the brown underneath of the soil. In retrospect, what I probably should have done is the soil a different colour, but it's too late for that now, as I don't want to start this again. I want to make what I started better, that's the idea. So yeah, so I'm just going to do that, nearly finished, and when that's done, then what we'll do is we'll start to look at the grass and finishing off the detailing, and then on to the next step. Now the other thing to say is, while I've been working on this, I have opened up and washed and started to prepare all of the metal miniatures that are going to go onto this build. So I'll be priming and painting those off camera, just doing a very basic paint job, so there's no point in filming it, but that's ongoing as well. Right, let's get this done, and I'll bring you back in a bit for the grass. In true beard clipper fashion, I'm about to use this device for the very first time. I have literally put a battery in it, turned it on, made sure the light comes on, and now we're going to give it a go. So this is a Pro Grass box from Warworld Scenics, so the same company that makes my normal static grass applicator. And the idea for this one is that you put the static grass on the plate here, and then hold what you want to above it, and it draws it up, which is pretty cool. Now it's designed to be used for things like this, and I'm going to use it for things like this. So for this miniature here, so it's designed to be used for putting static grass, on a miniature where you may not be able to get a more traditional static grass applicator in. However, for this I'm going to use it for the grass around here, and probably on the grass on any other ones that I do as well, which I might get stuck into. So I've painted on some of the glue, and it comes with a little pot of glue, which is nice. It also comes with a little pot of static grass, or baggie of static grass, and what it says to do is to put some static grass on the plate. Sorry, my hand's in the way. I am right-handed. There we are. So put some static grass on the plate. You attach the clip to your base. Now I'm going to do my thing that I always do. I've got a dressmaker's pin, which means that I can stick that in. So we can stick the dressmaker's pin into the base, which will act as the ground, like so. And then we'll turn it on. Let's see what happens. It's in a big box because I've heard that this is very messy. So let's see. Oh. Wow, would you look at that? It's working. There we are. Right, I might need to move the pin, and also might stop filming very shortly because it's a bit difficult to do, but that is working so much better than the other static grass applicator would in this situation. Right, I'm going to stop filming, I'm going to finish this off, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. A new project, yes. This is the Dino Rider. I printed this out using Li-Chi as a slicer. There will be a video coming out in my 3D printer venture talking about this a little bit, but now I'm going to start to assemble and paint it, and I'm very, very excited. I picked this up in a Kickstarter. I backed the Kickstarter just for this model, so this was very expensive. The other models are good, but this is why I wanted to back the Kickstarter, and it's printed out beautifully. And now what I'm going to do is assemble it, paint it, and put it in a diorama, and I'll be filming that process obviously and show you what it looks like. So very cool, very excited, really, really awesome model, and yeah, let's get this done. I'm about to do my first ever sci-fi diorama based around these 4 miniatures, which I got from a patron. Can't remember the name. I'll say it later in this video when I remember. I think it might be R&E Studios. Really, really love them. They're good. They're good. If it's not, then it'll be another one that I really like. But yeah, so there's 4 models here, which I've printed out. Just stuck them on other build plates just while I was doing other projects. And so now I've got all 4, which is what they came as. And I'm going to come up with some kind of a diorama that will fit them all in. Mainly to challenge myself, because I've not done anything really modern ever. The most modern I go for is World War II or the Model Railway, which is set in the indefinite times, I think, the Model Railway, but these are definitely set in the future, so it's going to be a real challenge for me. It's going to stretch my skills a bit, which is always good, and I'm also actually quite looking forward to painting them because they're a little bit different to what I normally paint. So what I'm going to do now is get them primed up, get them painted. I'll show you how I paint some of them. I'll do a little bit of talking, but not too much. Don't want this to be a massively involved video. I'm going to be learning as I go, so I'll tell you what I learn, and then we'll focus mainly on the diorama. So I'll get these painted up, and then let's get building. I have been continuing on with working on the Model Railway, even though I haven't really said much about it, because I've been doing boring things like this, which isn't all that wonderful to film, but I am going to bring you along for this little section just to show you just how much you have to do this. This is now the 3rd or 4th application of watered down terrain glue, link in the description below if you want to know how I make it, that I've applied over the top of this, and you can see that it's still very soft and not very well stuck down. And because this needs to be for Rosie, as I've said in other clips, I need this to be a very, very solidly built model railway, probably more so than you would do if you were just doing a normal model railway, which didn't have the opportunity of toddler fingers going all over it. So I'm having to come along and soak it down like this several times to get it to be so that when she says, "Daddy, Daddy, I touch," which she does every time she sees it, I can go, "Okay, love, of course you can." And then she can do it and there's no risk of damage. So yeah, it does slow the process down slightly having to do this, but it does also mean that Rosie will get joy out of it and I won't have to say, "No, you can't touch because you'll break it," which breaks my heart, and which is what I have to say at the moment, for this bit anyway. There are bits she is able to become tactile with, which is awesome, and very shortly she'll be able to do that for more and more and more as I push on. So I'm going to get this done on the rest of these hedges that I've put around the fences, and then I will bring you along and show you the next step, which is actually going to be very, very exciting. And I do also actually have some more stuff that's being delivered, which will be in hopefully in the next week. And yeah, so yeah, this is going to really come together at this end, and I'm now starting to plan the town end. A couple of very quick clips as I do some more detailing while I wait for the hedges to dry and do another application. So I need to put the gate in here, which I've painted up. So just using some PVA, gonna stick that in place there. And what you'll notice is just here I've got some little pile of wood, which is actually clips from the fence. And in one of the books, Poppy and Sam are helping Ted to fix the fence into the sheep field when the barn is on fire. so that is kind of a little hint there, a little touch towards that. So there's a little bit of detailing. I'll probably be building that little pile of fence posts up more as I come up with some spares, but at the moment that's all of the spare clips that I've got. So I'll just as I come up with some cut-offs, then I will keep adding to that pile. So that's that. Next up, we have those aforementioned sheep. So let me just move the camera a bit and let's get those in place. So this field that we just put the gate on is where the sheep are, and I have some sheep here from Pritchard. Model scene, apologies. Model scene sheep, there we are. Model scene accessories. So there are 6 sheep at Apple Tree Farm, and so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be gluing these in place in this field. I'll just be dipping them in some PVA and sticking them down. One thing I am going to do is take one of these lambs, because there is also a little scene in one of the books where a lamb is born, and that is going to get tucked into the fence up here, because that is where they find the little baby. Oh, it is a very snowy field in that story, but never mind. I can't get it all exactly right. I can't reproduce everything. So yeah, so this is where the sheep are going to go. So I'm going to basically position these around and make sure there are 6 in the field, and then I will show you what it looks like when I've finished this quick rush over detailing. So I'll get this glued down, and I'll bring you back for the final part of this 3-part rush, which is the one I'm most excited about. So there we are, we've got our sheep in now. So what we're going to do is we're going to pan carefully over here, focus on that part of the front of Apple Tree Farm, and let me show you what's going to get glued in there. Now this is from Noch and it's beautiful, and it's part of a 2-part set, and it is just going to be perfect because that is Poppy, Sam and Rusty playing in a sandpit. I mean, how cool is that? So I'm going to position that correctly, work out where I want to go. I may need to bed it in a little bit. I maybe should have planned that a bit more, but I only just received this, so if I'd have thought it could have been bedded into the ground a bit more, but I better work that out so I can put it on a frame or something. But yeah, there's Poppy, Sam and Rusty. So I'm going to put that there where it's really obvious for Rosie. I may move it a little bit closer to where the camera is just here so that she is able to touch it. That might work a bit better. So if I move the camera again. So I might put it in down here so that Rosie can reach it, which is very important for me on this build. And that actually sits in really nicely in that little dip there. So yeah, that might be where it goes. Perfect. So we have hedges ongoing, we have sheep in place, and we have Poppy, Sam and Rusty. So all I need to do now is get Mrs. Boot and Ted and the tractor, and the farm is populated. Obviously I need to get cows as well, don't I? But I don't have any, so that will have to wait a little while. So there they are playing in their sandpit, and I just remembered that I had this. So there it is. This is from Bush, and it actually came packaged with some pretty rubbish trees, but the trees was not much of the money because this tractor was perfect for what I wanted, a nice blue, slightly old looking tractor. So I'm probably not going to glue that in place. I'm probably going to leave that loose. It's a bit delicate. I'm not sure whether it might be something that I have to be a bit careful of for Rosie, but that's a really, really cool place to end up for today. Very, very pleased to have got that detailing done. Really, really cool. Here we are, all cured and ready for assembly, and I just wanted to show you just how nicely this is going to go together. I did have one issue. I didn't quite get all of the uncured resin out from inside this piece. It's got a drain hole, as you can see in the key, and when it was in the mercury it dripped out and actually did spill a bit, and that meant that it wasn't quite fitting in as cleanly as it should. But just with a little bit of a scrape with the hobby knife, I was able to take off all of that extraneous material, and now it fits in perfectly. And as you can see, you're barely even going to need to do any filling at all on that, because it's basically, well, it's around the it's cleverly placed around this medallion, so you expect there to be some negative space. There might be some filling to be done around the wings. I mean, it's just one of those things. You're not going to get that to be completely and utterly no line at all, so a little bit of the Mr. Dissolve putty that you can see here will be applied to that, and that will then be great. So I'm going to get this glued together, painted up. I'll tell you a little bit about the paint job, but then we're going to work on the diorama. It really is amazing what the application of a bit of grass can do to how a diorama or a piece looks. Really, really is informative. It's like dry brushing almost. So what we're going to do now is we're going to draw on very carefully, hopefully not screw it up, the lines for the race. And what I'm doing here is just using normal house paint and a toothpick to do the drawing. And I'm going to draw in only a couple of lanes like this. It doesn't need to be multiple lanes because I'm only going to have a couple of runners who are going to be obviously winning the race. This should have had a bit more of a shake on this paint. This is just common house paint that I've got from a local hardware store, and as you can see, it draws in those kind of like chalky lines very nicely when you're using a toothpick. So when this is done, what I'll do is I have a couple of miniatures to stick on, and then this piece is done and we can move on to the next, which is really cool. It's really nice to see this coming together. Oops, that was rubbish. I can touch that up. Just fell down off of a ridge that there is that you couldn't see very well. So there we are, so we've got 3 lanes. So the next thing to do, as I say, is to put on the 2 of the runners. I'm going to have 2 runners. I've got this girl here who is going to be at the front, and I've got this boy here who is going to be a little bit further behind. You couldn't really see that because of where the angle is. So I'm just going to glue those on using super glue. The other things that I've got here are, these are the models that did arrive in time last time, but I still couldn't use them. I've got a couple of school teachers and I've got some kids in uniforms, so I'm going to put a couple of those on. And then I've got a couple that can, of adults that will be able to go on the bleachers as well. So a guy there probably is one that's going to be going on who is cheering on the runners, and one person there who has binoculars. So I think I'll probably put those 2 on. I'll probably put a couple of the kids on, and I'll put these 2 of the runners on, and I'll just glue them down using super glue. So I'll put the first couple on, and then the rest I'll do off camera because it's probably not all that easy to see, but yeah, it's really, really simple to do these. These are dioramas. This is not a technique you'd use if it was going to go onto a gaming top, because obviously they're not going to be all that strong, but they're definitely going to be enough for a diorama. So you can see how simple it is with super glue. So I'll get the rest of them stuck on, I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll get cracking on with the next cube. This week my latest order from Luke, Geek Gaming, arrived, so let's have a look and see what came in that. So other than a load of peanuts, we have some Tiago Hillside, there we are, some base ready stuff. Got some more matte scenic sealant, which is cool. Got some granite dust. Now I'm going to be using this for Rosie's model railway, that's why I ordered that. some more basing glue because I'm actually running through that quite fast. I actually really like that. There's some more base ready Moorlands. And the thing that will be most of it, as you will probably know, or granite grassed, is 10 kilograms of modelling compound large. So let's dig all that out and see what else might be in there. So here we are. I'm happy with my restock of my modelling compound. I use a lot of it and I always like to have a lot in spare so that I never run out, because I have run out once before, and the legend that is Steve, who had some spare, shipped some to me and dug me out of a hole there. So I will hopefully never get into that situation again, and we'll be able to help him out if he ever does need it. Anyway, that's another story. What I've got is multiple bags of the granite dust, which I'll be using as on Rosie's railway as the ballast. Base ready Moorlands, just because I wanted to try it out, and some more forest ground cover that will also be used for Rosie's model railway, because I do have some but not a huge amount, so I need a little bit more. And then some Tiaga Hillside, which was a new one, which I hadn't seen before and I wanted to try out, and I like the look of it so much I figured I'd probably like it, and so I bought 3 packs of that. So yeah, some more base readies, some really cool stuff. If you don't shop from Geek Gaming, why not? They're brilliant, it's good price, really good service, very fast delivery. I ordered this a week ago, pretty much, and it's already got to me here in Bulgaria, so you can't knock that. And the quality is very good, so yeah. And he doesn't pay me anything to say that. I pay for all of this out of my own pocket. I get nothing from Luke. I wouldn't ask for anything, and I wouldn't accept it if he offered it, because he's supporting his family. So yeah, if you need some really good supplies, go and check it out. He's brilliant. So yeah, there we are. That's good. A little bit of a restock as I push on with the projects I'm working on. Well, this is dried completely now and is finished for now. I may add some more details, but I'm not going to be working on this actively anymore. Very, very pleased. This is basically what I had in mind. What you can see here is the little girl's winning the race, and the little boy's got his head in his hands coming up behind. Here we've got the school teacher who's watching the finish line, which I did add in as well, because I realised I'd missed that in the previous painting video. And then what we've got is we've got a little boy here who's not very happy, and we've got 2 girls that are celebrating, because you've got to have a little bit of humour and story in your tales, haven't you? And then at the back we've got the parents, one with binoculars watching because they're still a fair way away, and then a younger sibling potentially cheering on their family member. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. It's come out right. What I'm going to do now is carry on with the others. I'll use the same technique for the grass, so I won't film that again. But the next 2 to do are the parade ground and the charge across the battlefield. Yeah, so they'll be done together. I last night primed up the miniatures for those 2, which were the ones that delayed the whole build in the first place. And I found some miscasts, which, after waiting that many months for them to arrive, I'm really not very impressed. So that just piles insult onto injury, I think, for that order. I would never recommend that you go to that guy. It's been a disaster from beginning to end, but which is a shame. Most of the time, all the supplies I use are superb. So anyway, really pleased with how that looks. Very happy indeed. And on to the next 3 quarters of the build. So let's have a look at how this project is going. It's been a few days, about a week I think, and yeah, so I've made some pretty good progress. As you can see, what I've been focusing on is doorways. I was trying to work out my scheme for doing the stone, and in that time I painted up the doors to match the colours that are on the little card sheets that you can see. So we've got the yellow, the purple, the grey, and the red. So that's pretty cool. I'm very happy with how that's looking. Last night, actually, what I did was I played around a little bit with some pigments and with some washes, some oil washes. And I think I'm going to go with pigments for the rust. So let's see if I can get that to focus in. There we are. So you can see that I've been playing around with some pigments on that, and I've really nicely rusted up the ironwork. I'm very pleased with how that looks actually. It's early days. I haven't done much pigment work, but it was really nice to apply, and I think it gives a really nice effect. I've also worked out roughly what I'm going to do for the stones, so I'm going to be carrying on painting the stonework on these, and then I'll move on to the walls. So yeah, it's been a slow process, but I'm doing this in my 20 minutes, so it's only 20 minutes a night. So what you see there is about an hour and a half's work, including priming. So it's not too bad, I suppose. It just takes a long time in terms of elapsed days. But yeah, carrying on, and next update I'll probably show you what it looks like when these are all finished and all the stonework's done, and then we're moving on to the walls. Well, there we are. I actually got a lot more done than I realised, which is such a regular thing. That's what really should be the tagline for this channel, as well as I'm an idiot. Yeah, I didn't do anything at all until Wednesday, and then Wednesday I had my jab, and so I did very little after that. I think what I did was I did just try to pick myself and do a little bit of stuff that didn't take much thinking. And then as I felt better yesterday, I was able to get quite a lot done, and that's really pushed the week forwards. It's good to do this review. It really does encourage me, and I think this is probably why the channel is such a positive feedback loop for me and my hobbying. It does take some time to record these clips and to edit it together, but then it also inspires me so much to see what I've achieved, because you can sit down at the end of a week and you can think, nah, I didn't really do much, that was a bit disappointing. And that's what I felt like when I started this video. But now I'm like, wow, actually I got quite a lot done, and that's really positive. And I hope that that does also maybe inspire you guys, that maybe make a note, even if you don't do a vlog, make a note on a daily basis of the little things that you've achieved, even if it's just tidied up my desk, because that's a big thing. And then at the end of the week, have a look at that list, and maybe that will encourage you that you've achieved lots and give you a little bit of a boost, because we all need a boost every now and then. So a couple of things to say before I wrap up. First of all, next week I'm doing a live stream with Flanks from the Arena of the Contest community. We're going to do a paint along, so come and join us. It's going to be Saturday night UK time, Saturday morning in America, and I will put that on my community tab when I have it absolutely nailed down. So hopefully see a lot of you there, yeah, it's going to be good. And tomorrow, watch out for a video landing, not just the recommendation Monday tomorrow, another big video for an awesome Kickstarter which has just started and funded. Yes, Moonstone, there's a video coming out tomorrow, so watch out for that. It's a big one and I'm very pleased with it. So thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Drop a comment below if you have got this far and if you've got anything to say. Remember, I do reply to all of them. And I'll wrap up by saying, as always, please stay healthy, stay safe and stay well.